Vanessa Lawson's champagne flute sat untouched as she observed the joyous celebration from her isolated corner, wondering why she'd bothered to attend her cousin's wedding when business calls could have provided a more comfortable excuse. The elegant reception hall sparkled with festivity couples swirling across the dance floor, laughter echoing beneath crystal chandeliers while she remained marooned at table 19. The dreaded singles table that had somehow become the Vanessa sits alone table when the other guests migrated to the bar. "Is this seat taken?" Vanessa looked up from her phone, where she'd been discreetly checking quarterly projections, to find a tall man with kind eyes standing across the table. His navy suit was well-tailored, but showed subtle signs of wear at the cuffs. "Help yourself," she replied, gesturing to the empty chairs surrounding her. "Apparently, I've been quarantined. Then we can be quarantined together," he smiled, extending his hand. "Yates Anderson, Vanessa Lawson." She took his hand, noticing calluses that seemed at odds with his polished appearance. "How do you know the happy couple?" "I don't really. My daughter Lily is the flower girl, Jessica's goddaughter." He nodded toward the dance floor where a small girl in a puffy pink dress was being twirled by the groom. "And you, bride's cousin, obligatory invitation." Vanessa watched the little girl's unbridled joy as she spun, her laughter carrying across the room. "Your daughter's adorable. Thanks." "She's the light of my life." Pride softened his features. "She's been looking forward to this wedding for months, practiced her petal-tossing technique every day. I can imagine her precision was impressive. Oh, extremely scientific. She even created spreadsheets." His eyes crinkled at the corners when he laughed. Vanessa raised an eyebrow. "Spreadsheets? How old is she?" "6. Going on 36. Yates glanced toward his daughter again. "She gets her organizational skills from her mother." The subtle change in his tone made Vanessa curious, but she knew better than to pry. Instead, she asked, "What brings you to my deserted island? Shouldn't you be spinning your daughter around the dance floor?" "I've been relieved of duty. Apparently, Uncle Rob is a superior dancer." He nodded toward an elderly man now awkwardly swaying with the enthusiastic child. "And I noticed you sitting here alone, working at a wedding. Seemed like you might appreciate some company." "Was I that obvious?" She slipped her phone into her clutch. "The focused frown gave you away." "That's the same expression I wear when trying to balance my checkbook." Something about his unpretentious honesty made Vanessa smile genuinely for the first time that evening. "I should probably work on my poker face." "Why? It's a nice frown, very determined." He poured himself some water from the pitcher on the table. "So what kind of work keeps a beautiful woman occupied during the chicken dance?" Vanessa hesitated. Experience had taught her that revealing her position as CEO of Lawson Innovations, a rapidly expanding tech company that had recently made headlines with its breakthrough medical software, often changed the dynamic of conversations. Men either became intimidated or saw her as a challenge to conquer. "I'm in tech," she said simply. "Medical software, nothing that can't wait until Monday, honestly." "That's interesting," he said, seeming genuinely curious rather than impressed. "Creating software that helps people must be rewarding." "It is," she admitted. "Our latest program helps rural hospitals access specialist consultations remotely. What about you? What do you do when you're not attending weddings with spreadsheet-making 6-year-olds? "I'm a high school physics teacher." He said it with such straightforward pride that Vanessa found herself charmed. "Not nearly as glamorous as tech, but I get to blow things up occasionally in the name of science." That sounds significantly more exciting than staring at code all day. Their conversation flowed easily as the reception continued around them. Vanessa learned that Yates had been raising Lily alone for the past 2 years, since his wife Karen died from complications following a car accident. He spoke of the challenges and joys of single parenthood without self-pity, his love for his daughter evident in every anecdote. "The hardest part is the practical stuff," he confessed. "Parent-teacher conferences scheduled during my own teaching hours. Finding reliable childcare when school's out, but I still have to work. And don't get me started on trying to style a little girl's hair." "YouTube tutorials haven't helped?" Vanessa asked, finding herself increasingly drawn to this man who spoke so openly about his struggles. My French braiding has improved dramatically, but we're still working on the perfect ponytail. His smile was both proud and slightly embarrassed. Lily's very particular about the height and symmetry. As she should be, Vanessa said with mock seriousness. Ponytail positioning is crucial business. As they talked, Vanessa gradually forgot about her emails, the awkwardness of being the perpetually single cousin, and the pressure of the merger negotiations awaiting her on Monday. Instead, she found herself laughing at Yates's stories about science experiments gone wrong and the wisdom that came from his daughter's unique perspective on life. Daddy. The little girl in pink came bounding toward their table, slightly out of breath, her carefully styled hair now coming loose from its barrettes. Uncle Rob says his feet hurt too much to dance anymore. Sounds like perfect timing for me to step in, Yates said, standing up. He turned to Vanessa. Would you excuse us? Before Vanessa could respond, Lily tugged at her father's sleeve and whispered something in his ear that made him glance back at Vanessa. Actually, he said with a hint of uncertainty, Lily wants to know if you'd like to dance with us. She says you look too pretty to be sitting all alone. Touched by the child's observation, Vanessa hesitated only briefly before standing. I'd be honored, but I should warn you I haven't danced since college. That's okay, Lily said earnestly, reaching for Vanessa's hand. Daddy's not very good either. Yates shrugged good-naturedly. Brutal honesty, another thing she gets from her mother. The three of them made their way to the dance floor just as the band transitioned to a slower song. Vanessa felt momentarily awkward, but Lily solved the problem by insisting they all hold hands in a circle, creating their own little dance unit. As they swayed and turned, Vanessa caught glimpses of Yates watching her with warm interest that made her heart beat a little faster. When the song ended, Lily announced she needed cake immediately, tugging them toward the dessert table. As the child deliberated between chocolate and vanilla with the seriousness of a Supreme Court justice, Yates leaned closer to Vanessa. Thank you for humoring us, he said softly. This is the most fun I've had at a social event in, well, a very long time. I'm the one who should be thanking you, Vanessa replied. You rescued me from spreadsheet purgatory. Their eyes met, and Vanessa felt an unexpected connection, something beyond the casual friendliness of wedding strangers. Before she could analyze it further, Lily returned with a plate containing both chocolate and vanilla cake. I couldn't decide, she explained solemnly, but I can share. They found themselves back at table 19, now a cozy trio rather than Vanessa's solitary island. As they shared cake and conversation, Vanessa was struck by how comfortable she felt with this small family unit. When Lily eventually began to droop with exhaustion, her head resting against her father's shoulder, Vanessa realized the evening was coming to an end. I should probably get this sleepy scientist home to bed, Yates said, gently stroking his daughter's hair. Of course. Vanessa felt a pang of disappointment. It was lovely meeting you both. Yates shifted Lily to his other arm and reached into his jacket pocket, producing a slightly crumpled business card. I'd really like to see you again, if you're interested. Vanessa took the card, noting the simple text, Yates Anderson, Physics Department, Westlake High School, followed by his contact information. I'd like that. She retrieved her own card from her purse, hesitating before handing it over. Unlike his modest card, hers proclaimed Vanessa Lawson, Chief Executive Officer, Lawson Innovations in elegant embossing. She watched his face carefully as he read it. His eyebrows rose slightly, but the warm interest in his eyes didn't change. Well, now I understand the spreadsheets at a wedding. Is it a problem? She'd learned to be direct about these things. Only if you think physics teachers are boring, he replied with a smile that reached his eyes. I'll call you this week if that's okay. I'd like that, Vanessa repeated, this time with more certainty. She watched as he carried his sleeping daughter through the reception hall, pausing to thank the bride and groom before disappearing into the night. For the first time in years, Vanessa found herself looking forward to a phone call that had nothing to do with business. True to his word, Yates called 3 days later. Their first official date was a casual dinner at a neighborhood bistro, where conversation flowed as easily as it had at the wedding. Vanessa found herself captivated by Yates's passion for teaching and his unpretentious approach to life. "Most of my students will never become physicists," he explained, "but if they leave my class understanding how to think critically about the world around them, I've done my job." "That's not so different from what I do," Vanessa mused. "At its core, my work is about solving problems and making connections." As they continued dating over the following weeks, Vanessa was introduced to a life vastly different from her high-pressure corporate existence. Weekends that she would normally spend in her home office reviewing reports were instead filled with visits to the zoo, impromptu picnics in the park, and Saturday morning pancake competitions judged by an increasingly enthusiastic Lily. "Your blueberry distribution is more scientifically optimal," Lily declared one morning, studying Vanessa's creation with serious consideration. "But Daddy's pancake is shaped like a Saturn V rocket, which gets extra points for creativity." "I accept defeat graciously," Vanessa said, pretending to bow to Yates, who executed an exaggerated victory dance that left Lily giggling uncontrollably. These moments, simple, joyful, and unhurried, began to shift something fundamental in Vanessa's perspective. She found herself checking her email less frequently, delegating more tasks at work, and prioritizing her personal happiness in ways she hadn't for years. But integrating their lives wasn't without challenges. Vanessa's demanding schedule sometimes clashed with the structured routine Yates maintained for Lily's benefit. Her last-minute cancellations due to work emergencies were difficult for both Yates and his daughter to understand. "I'm sorry," Vanessa said during one particularly tense phone call after having to miss Lily's school science fair. "The board meeting ran over, and then the Tokyo office needed immediate consultation on." "It's okay," Yates interrupted, though his tone suggested otherwise. "Lily understands. People get busy." "I wanted to be there," Vanessa insisted, feeling the ache of disappointment, both Lily's and her own. How did her project do? She won first place. Pride momentarily overrode his frustration. Her demonstration of centripetal force using a water bucket was pretty impressive. "I recorded it for you." Vanessa felt simultaneously touched that he'd thought to record it for her and guilty that she hadn't been there in person. "I'd love to see it. Maybe I could come over tomorrow evening. I'll bring celebration ice cream." There was a pause before Yates replied, "That would be nice. Lily would like that." Another pause. "I would too." That evening proved to be a turning point. After watching Lily's triumph on video and properly celebrating with ice cream sundaes, Vanessa helped tuck the little girl into bed. As Lily drifted off to sleep, clutching the stuffed astronaut Vanessa had given her weeks earlier, Vanessa felt a profound sense of connection to this child who had so easily welcomed her into their lives. Rejoining Yates in the living room of his modest home, Vanessa found him looking thoughtfully at a framed photo of Lily as a toddler, held in the arms of a smiling woman with the same bright eyes as her daughter. "Karen would have loved the science fair project," he said quietly. She was always encouraging Lily's curiosity. Vanessa sat beside him, uncertain how to respond. Though Yates spoke openly about his late wife, this felt like a more vulnerable moment than usual. "I think about her every day," he continued, "not just because I miss her, but because I want to make sure Lily grows up knowing who her mother was." He set the photo down and turned to Vanessa. "But lately, I've been thinking about something else too." "What's that?" Vanessa asked softly. "How to balance honoring Karen's memory with moving forward." His eyes met hers directly. "Because I'm falling in love with you, Vanessa, and it's both wonderful and terrifying." The confession hung in the air between them, honest and unadorned. Vanessa felt her carefully constructed professional facade crumble completely as tears sprang to her eyes. "I'm falling in love with you too," she admitted, her voice thick with emotion. "Both of you, and it scares me because I've never been good at anything except work. I don't know how to be what Lily needs, or what you deserve." Yates took her hand, his touch gentle but sure. "All Lily and I need is for you to be exactly who you are: brilliant, kind, and willing to try even when the pancake contest is clearly rigged against you." Vanessa laughed through her tears. It was rigged, No pancake should get extra points just for resembling NASA equipment. Science bias, Yates agreed solemnly before growing serious again. I know your work is important to you, Vanessa. I would never ask you to be less than who you are. But maybe we can figure out how to make space for all the important things. That conversation marked the beginning of intentional compromises on both sides. Vanessa restructured her work schedule to protect certain family times, while Yates adjusted some of Lily's routines to accommodate Vanessa's unavoidable commitments. They began to function as a team, finding balance in their blended lives. 6 months after meeting at the wedding, Vanessa invited Yates and Lily to accompany her to a charity gala hosted by Lawson Innovations. It would be their first formal appearance together in Vanessa's professional world. Are you sure you want us there? Yates asked as they discussed the event. Your board members might expect you to bring someone more corporate. I want you both there precisely because you're not corporate, Vanessa replied firmly. You remind me why the work matters in the first place, to improve real people's lives, not just satisfy shareholders. The night of the gala, Vanessa waited nervously in the lobby of the Grand Hotel where the event was being held. When Yates and Lily arrived, her anxiety melted away. Yates looked handsome in his tuxedo rented. He'd told her with characteristic honesty, and Lily was resplendent in a midnight blue dress that Vanessa had helped her select for the occasion. You look beautiful, Yates said, his eyes appreciative as he took in Vanessa's elegant gown. Like a princess, Lily added earnestly, but the kind that could also run a country. That might be the best compliment I've ever received, Vanessa laughed, kneeling to give Lily a careful hug. Throughout the evening, Vanessa watched with growing admiration as Yates charmed her colleagues with his intelligent conversation and unpretentious manner. Lily, meanwhile, impressed the chief of pediatrics from the hospital where Lawson Innovations was implementing its new software, peppering him with surprisingly insightful questions about how technology was changing medicine. Your family is delightful, Vanessa's VP of Development commented as they stood observing Yates and Lily across the room. I've never seen you look so happy, Vanessa. The word family caught her by surprise, but as she watched Yates gently adjusting the barrette that had come loose in Lily's hair, she realized how right it felt. They had become her family not through legal documents or formal declarations, but through countless small moments of care and connection. Later that night, after Lily had fallen asleep in the hotel room Vanessa had arranged for them, Yates and Vanessa stood on the balcony overlooking the city lights. Thank you for tonight, Vanessa said, leaning against his shoulder. Having you both there meant everything to me. We were proud to be there, Yates replied, wrapping his arm around her waist. Though I think Lily's mainly excited about being able to tell her class that she ate chocolate mousse at midnight like a grown-up. Vanessa laughed, then grew serious. When Patricia called you and Lily my family tonight, it felt right. I haven't had a real family since my parents died in college. I forgot how much I missed that feeling of belonging. Yates turned to face her fully, taking both her hands in his. I've been thinking about that too, about family and belonging. His voice was steady, but she could feel a slight tremor in his hands. I know we haven't been together very long, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Vanessa's heart began to race as Yates reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. This was my grandmother's, he said, opening it to reveal a vintage ring with a modest diamond surrounded by delicate sapphires. It's not as extravagant as what you might be used to. It's perfect, Vanessa interrupted, her voice barely above a whisper. Vanessa Lawson, will you marry me? Will you be part of our family officially and let us be part of yours? Yes, she answered without hesitation, tears of joy spilling onto her cheeks. Yes to all of it. As Yates slipped the ring onto her finger, Vanessa realized that her life had come full circle from that lonely wedding table where they'd first met. She had gone from being the isolated CEO to finding a love and family connection she'd stopped believing was possible. Their wedding 6 months later was intimate and joyful, held in the botanical garden where they'd spent many Sunday afternoons with Lily. The little girl served as both flower girl and junior bridesmaid, taking both roles with characteristic seriousness. During the ceremony, Yates and Vanessa exchanged traditional vows, but they also included special promises to Lily. "I promise to always have time for science experiments and bedtime stories," Vanessa told the child, kneeling to be at eye level. "To respect your mother's memory and help keep it alive, and to love you as my own every day in every way that matters." Lily's response wasn't planned, but it became the moment everyone remembered from the ceremony. "I promise to teach you everything I know about being a good daughter," she said solemnly, "and to only complain a little when you make me eat vegetables." The reception was filled with laughter and dancing, blending Vanessa's corporate colleagues with Yates's fellow teachers and friends. Unlike the wedding where they'd met, Vanessa didn't check her phone once, too absorbed in the happiness of the moment to worry about work. As they swayed together during their first dance, Yates whispered, "No regrets about marrying a high school teacher instead of a CEO like yourself." Vanessa smiled up at him, secure in the knowledge that she had found something far more valuable than professional success. "The only thing I regret is all the lonely wedding tables before I found you." In the years that followed, Vanessa and Yates built a life that balanced her corporate responsibilities with his teaching career and their shared commitment to raising Lily. Vanessa restructured Lawson Innovations to prioritize work-life balance for all employees, inspired by her own transformation. The company thrived under this more humane approach, expanding its medical software to underserved communities globally. Yates continued teaching physics, eventually developing an innovative curriculum that combined practical science with ethics and social responsibility. His approach earned national recognition, though he remained most proud of the individual students whose lives he influenced. When Lily turned 10, they welcomed twins, a boy and a girl, who inherited Vanessa's determination and Yates's kind eyes. Lily embraced her role as big sister with characteristic enthusiasm, creating detailed schedules for teaching the babies everything important about the world. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Vanessa surprised Yates with a weekend getaway to the same hotel where they'd become engaged. After a romantic dinner, they stood on the balcony reminiscing about how their lives had changed. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Yates asked. The freedom to work until midnight or jet off to Tokyo on a moment's notice, Vanessa considered the question seriously. "Sometimes I miss the simplicity of only having to think about myself," she admitted. "But then I remember how empty that simplicity felt. I was successful but lonely. Now I have a messy, complicated, beautiful life full of science projects and bedtime negotiations and infinite love." She squeezed his hand. "I wouldn't trade it for anything. Not even for a pancake contest without rigged judging," Yates teased. "Well, maybe for that," Vanessa laughed. "Though you should know that Lily confessed to me last week that she always favored your pancakes because she was worried about your feelings. My entire culinary reputation built on pity." Yates clutched his heart in mock anguish. As they laughed together under the stars, Vanessa reflected on the unlikely path that had brought them together. From a lonely wedding table to a fulfilling life shared with a man who valued her ambition as much as her heart, and a family that had taught her the true meaning of success. Life wasn't perfect. They still navigated challenges, balancing careers and family, honoring Karen's memory while building their own traditions, and guiding Lily through the complexities of growing up. But they faced each challenge as they had from the beginning, with honesty, compromise, and unwavering love. "Thank you for sitting at my table that night," Vanessa said softly. "Thank you for making room for us in your life," Yates replied, pulling her close. And as they held each other, both were grateful for the courage it had taken to bridge the distance between a lonely CEO and a struggling single father, a distance that had seemed vast, but proved to be just the length of a wedding reception hall, and the beginning of their extraordinary, ordinary love story.